big, I mean, this is a WWE news and rumors type show, but we also have some other sports entertainment out there. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have quite a bit of stuff to talk about. So
Your favorite. All right, guys. I need like a graphic and like a thing. Like we're gonna have to make like a voiceover graphic thing that's like our weekly Let's Bury Down Global Force Impact TNA wrestling thing here.
this is my segment here. I
Okay,
want to
let's
talk
see.
about TNA.
Okay.
And hold on, TNA, right? And the reason why we're going to talk about TNA is because there is apparently no such thing as GFW.
You
Well,
mean
it
NWA,
is, but it's not.
You mean Global Force Wrestling? You mean Impact
Yes.
Wrestling? You mean TNA We Are Wrestling? Okay.
Yeah.
There is no Global Force Wrestling. What is the wrestling world going to do? Please tell. Please explain.
Yeah, well, this is going to be hard to explain because, well, even TNA's people can't even explain what's going on here. But for those who don't know, and I think we talked a little bit about it last week, but Jeff Jarrett took a leave of absence from GFW. And, of course, when that happened, he took his leave of absence. Nobody knew what was happening. And, you know, we got some pretty cool news from Ed Nordholm or whatever his name is.
Ed
And
Nordstrom.
yeah, the guy from Anthem basically came out and said, "Hey,
Mr. F
TNA,
that owl.
This guy, he comes out and he's like, yeah, you know, we're gonna do the Bound for Glory pay-per-view in Ottawa, Canada, which is cool. The design looks really awesome, like
The logo,
the presentation of it. Yeah, the logo. It's a really, really cool thing, right? And I'm glad, like, you know, they're gonna go international. Blah blah.
And
blah,
and
blah,
let
blah.
me just put this out there for you. The reason they're doing that is that's where like the headquarters from Anthem is out there in
Yep.
Canada. I think it's more Toronto, but
Yeah.
they went for this venue. Anyway, go on.
And either way, they announced that this is what's happening for BFG, but the problem with the branding for GFW's pay-per-view is it's no longer being branded or presented by GFW. So in just such a short period of time, TNA went from, you know, Impact Wrestling to Anthem to GFW back to Impact.
Let me explain this though. Let me take you a step back because I think you're skipping ahead a little bit. Okay, so here's what happens. Let's go brief history of GFW before we get into this because that's what always happens. So brief history of GFW, right? Jeff Jarrett says FTNA, I'm leaving. I'm going to start my own promotion, GFW, right? Starts this promotion, says, you know what? We're going to do some tapings in Vegas. They do the tapings in Vegas. Then they do some live events all around the United States in baseball stadiums and such and that. We don't hear a lot about the Vegas tapings. What happened with that? Nobody really knows. Then Jeff Jarrett goes and starts selling gold, right? GFW gold. Buy some gold, help Jeff Jarrett. Seems like a big scam. Then, out of nowhere, Jeff Jarrett comes back to TNA Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, and says, you know what? We're going to partner GFW and Impact Wrestling. You know what's going to happen is GFW is going to present Impact Wrestling. And then we hear all these rumors. Well, did Ed Norham and Anthem Sports buy GFW? And that's what's going on there. And that's what it looked like. They all get new belts. They're all brand new GFW Impact belts. Everything's great. The championships are cool. Jarrett's there. Then Jarrett leaves after what are some saying he has personal problems, whether it's alcohol-related issues, I think. I can't really tell what's going on there. There was one thing where he came out at the AAA show and he was throwing tortillas into the crowd. In a Mexican crowd, he was throwing tortillas. And then he also started throwing like a cup of beer into the crowd too. So Jeff Jarrett apparently having some demons or something. I don't know, unless he was just being a stupid heel, but I don't know.
Let me just cut you off.
Hold on. I'm not done.
No,
I'm not done. I'm not done. Angle.
Tony,
There's more to be told with this story. The whole point of this story. Listen, stop. I'm muting you. Listen,
Tony.
The whole point of the story is that Jeff Jarrett left TNA Wrestling, GFW Impact. Ed Norlam comes out and says, yeah, don't worry, nothing's wrong. GFW TNA, we made that deal, right? Yeah, we made it's all good. We're still going to run business as normal. That's not the fact because they have lied to us, Ango. You want to tell them how they lied to us?
Let me just explain something to you before you just had to not let me talk, right? Here's the problem here, and I'm going to go out here and tell you guys live that this is a big deal. They absolutely lied. They said that Anthem acquired GFW, the name, whatever, the titles, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's one big problem. I'm at the stage where I just want people to realize that this is no longer an issue of lying and branding and stuff like that. This is just an example of bad management, okay? I want Dixie Carter back.
Oh, hot take. Hot take.
I want Dixie Carter back because as much as I criticize Dixie Carter, she was not an idiot to the point of what Anthem has done with TNA.
Hey, at least she tried to bring in Hulk Hogan
Dixie Carter,
and try and make it right. I'll give her that.
She struggled. She put the wrong people in power. The problem is that's what you do sometimes. You make that mistake. The problem is the people that are in power now aren't hiring other people to make these stupid decisions. It's the people that physically own this company, and they're the ones who are making those decisions on their own, and they're the ones who are struggling here because the problem with Dixie Carter was creative, right? Creative was an issue. She had a very, very big issue with creative, and she had a very big issue with branding the show and presentation. That
was the big issue. It was the creative side of things. She didn't know creatively. She wasn't a wrestling mind, but I think she had a better little business mind than that, right?
Yes. Now, here's the thing. Now with TNA, they're actually improved creatively. They have this awesome, like, people, for those who don't know, Kevin Sullivan does all the branding and stuff like that. So he's doing all the branding and presentation and the video stuff, which is very good because that's what TNA was missing before. But now the people that own TNA are lying to the people. And as far as I can remember, I do not remember Dixie Carter ever coming out saying, yeah, you know, we bought out this company and we own this and we own that. And then only for her to be exposed in which she didn't own that property that she claimed. I don't remember that ever happening with Dixie Carter. That's the thing that's happening here with Anthem and TNA. Just for the record, when you look at TNA and watch, you know, Impact or GFW, whatever you want to call it, when you watch the show, you realize that creatively it's not a bad show whatsoever. Now, we talked last week about, you know, Del Rio and Rey Mysterio.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously had my own disagreements with that, but this is exactly what it is. They have no regard for certain situations. They just view it as, hey, I'm going to have Del Rio come to Bound for Glory because he's a big name, blah, 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 blah. They're not doing anything to create a real brand. And, you know, Ed Nordholm or whatever came out and he's like, yeah, you know, WWE is spectacular, but we're not trying to be like WWE. We want our show to be about the wrestling. Well, you know, that's completely cool. So maybe you could just disregard about the fact that you lied about the company name. You could disregard the fact that it's Impact Wrestling. It's not Global Force Wrestling. And now somehow as a fan, we're all supposed to believe these title belts that they have that say Global Force Wrestling. Are they going to stay? Are they going to go? Because, you know, that was owned by owned by Jeff Jarrett.
Not only the fact that he's lying to people, but then you have the talent who have no idea what's going on. Josh Matthews, who I figure is like the most he would be in the most in know, like he would know the most, right? Because he's like kind of on the business side and the production side of things, and he's actually like an on-air personality doing the commentary. So you figure he would know, right? But here is what he says on why GFW TNA's demise. He said, I don't know. I wish I knew. At this point, it becomes white noise. We've seen it so many times. Even when I was in WWE for 13 years, you'd see it monthly and weekly. That Impact or TNA, whether it's going to go away or whether it's not going to exist anymore, it's going to happen. So he's just saying, I don't know. I have no freaking idea. No clue.
And that's like, really bad considering he is kind of, in a way, like Josh Matthews has kind of been a puppet for TNA. Whenever people were talking poorly about TNA or whatever, I mean, he was always defending Dixie Carter and the management team. And now it doesn't look like he's necessarily doing that with that, with that article I read. So, you know, man, this is just an ongoing problem that TNA is going to have. And unfortunately, as much as I hate saying it, because, you know, you have good creative minds, you have Dutch Mantel. You had Jim Cornette as a personality on there, but he is officially gone.
Yeah, what happened with Jim Cornette leaving there?
He can't get into... Well, Jim Cornette was only supposed to come to TNA based on Jeff Jarrett. Like, Jeff Jarrett was the one who made that happen. Jeff Jarrett was gone. Ed Nordholm was like, well, you know, we don't need you in Canada. Apparently, he's not allowed in Canada as well. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where they're like, hey, you know what? You can't come to Canada, so we're just going to kind of let you go. Cool, whatever. So you lose Jim Cornette. You have Dutch Mantel as your creative. John Garbuick, as much as I don't like the garbage man, you know, I'll give him his props. He seems to not be the biggest problem that TNA has at this point. So I can let that go for a minute. But then you just see like this entire thing, you know, like I know they have this pay-per-view. At some point, how do you fix TNA And I think after so many years, what is it, 10, 11 years, at this point, I don't think you could fix it. I think it is dead. I think it's, at this point, the tombstone is coming out.
All right, so they're running. So another tombstone here. They're running this pavilion show, right? This GFW pavilion, and the Aberdeen Pavilion is what it's called. Not the GFW, but Impact Wrestling running this pavilion. And the thing is that there's only going to be 500 people at this show. They said they wanted to be more intimate and keep it. The venue has a rich history, and the arena would be great for us to sell a big history.
Yeah,
a big arena.
You know what my response is to that? So on Twitter, I even tagged Ed Nordholm in my tweet because, he's not going to respond anyway. But I'm like, what he's basically saying is TNA just can't fill an arena and they'd rather be in a smaller place. And that's his excuse. Oh, it's more intimate. It's more intimate. The problem that they have here is not so much that they're looking for an intimate connection, because guess what? If that's what it was about, you wouldn't have been running shows at baseball arenas, and you wouldn't have done live events, in high school gyms. You wouldn't do things that, dude, this is the thing. Like, I actually really, really like TNA. Okay. I really, really do.
I think the current direction that they're going is more indie wrestling-esque, and I think they're trying to capitalize on that, which I like, but it's just the management side. It's the management.
I love it. But now it comes back to the big problem. The reputation of TNA has been so shitty, and you can't fix reputation once it's been damaged for so many years. So even people were like, hey, you know what, TNA needs to do is keep the roster, go on a different television network, and with their roster, they need to, new title belts, new name, new stuff, right? Well, here's the thing. You take them off Pop TV. Cool, that's great. You get rid of the Impact name, you get rid of GFW, you get rid of all this stuff, right? Well, guess what? When you see that it's the same exact roster from last year or a day ago, you're going to start to realize that these people, I'm not even kidding, you're going to realize that these people are just the same TNA company. It was the same thing with GFW and Anthem. TNA had left, it's no longer TNA. We're going by Impact Wrestling. Well, that's how it is. You know what I mean? It's been TNA, it's been Impact. It's, it's just reputation. And at the same time, too, it's really, really damaged at this point. And, I just say, bring Dixie Carter back. Hashtag that. Let's get it trending worldwide.
I mean, I'm not saying she was the best. Creatively, she was stupid. I think she didn't really get the wrestling business creative-wise. I think if they could somehow figure out, I don't know. It's been a lot of problems with Impact in, putting their trust in other people. They've done that way too many times. Like, oh, we're going to put our trust in Ed Norlam, and he's great, right? He owns a television network. He knows exactly what to do for wrestling. Not true. We know Hulk Hogan was around. Let's trust him. There's just problems here with them trusting other people instead of, that's the thing. With WWE, it's always been Vince McMahon, and he was the guy. He was like, this is the final say. I don't think there's someone in that company that has the final say, right? That's like, this has to happen on my show, and it can't get by without him. They don't have a Vince McMahon, and that's the problem with every wrestling promotion is they don't have a Vince McMahon to say the final say of this is what's good for business.
And that's exactly why people can't hate on WWE, because you can hate on WWE, right? 100%. You can hate on WWE. You can say, look, Vince McMahon is so stupid. The company's going to be better when he's dead. And I hear people saying that, but the problem that they're starting to realize is that structure that they've had since day one has always allowed them to be good, because even if it's bad, guess who it falls on? It falls down on Vince McMahon. If it's good, people credit Vince McMahon. With TNA, it's like you have 10 different people in creative. You have 10 different, you have 10 different people that are possibly owners. It's like, I don't know. It's just a huge mess, and I hate it because I feel bad, for people for people that are not only in the industry that are relying on a check, but I feel bad for the people that are creators like us, because we want to talk about TNA, we want to talk about ROH, we want to talk about New Japan, but when you look at viewership and interest in the world, nobody has interest for that. They only care about WWE. And anybody who's telling me, that's a lie. If you go on YouTube and you make a video for WWE 2K18 versus getting a gameplay for TNA Impact, the views are going to be totally different.
Or even just talking about it and stuff in general is we're probably shooting ourselves in the foot by talking about TNA because it's not going to bring in that traction that the mainstream WWE people want. It's just WWE is WWE for a reason, because Vince McMahon says this is what's happening, and this is, because of WWE and Vince McMahon build it. A lot of people might not always like what they do and like, you know, the crap that they do and this in and this out. You know, it's not always the best, but it's never going to die because Vince McMahon is always so smart. He puts the right people in charge on his business, and he knows what to do first and foremost. He's one of the smartest businessmen out there. And that's the problem with TNA is they just don't have that figurehead that's going to say this is good, this is bad, because you kicked Jarrett out for Dixie, right? Then she bought a majority of the company. Then she sells off the majority of the company. And then Ed Norton, like you got to have that strong guy in there that's like, this is it. I know I've said it and I've said it over and over, but
I think the only person who could have saved TNA was Billy Corgan. And that whole thing played out to be a really, really wrong situation. And it sucks, man. Like I said, you know, you even mentioned it too. Like, we probably don't get the effects. Like, I just know for a fact that if I'm looking for a headlining title, I'm not putting Alberto Del Rio returning to GFW because guess what? People don't give a shit. But if you put, you know, Alberto Del Rio returns to WWE Royal Rumble 2017, bro, you're about to get 100K views.
Yeah, for sure.
Minimum.
That's
you're gonna get more
100%
views.
true. Yeah,
you'll get more views on that video than TNA will get on an episode of Impact. It's just how it is, man. I hate saying it because, like I said, it affects all of us, and it affects people that want to talk about it because, like I said, their creative isn't bad. But then again, too, reputation is terrible. It's one of the things. I don't know if you've seen WCPW, What Culture Pro Wrestling, but those people, man, like they have a show. I've just watched YouTube videos. I'm not diehard about it or anything like that. I just got introduced to it.
Yeah.
But I was watching the videos. I'm like, yeah, this is solid quality. And here's the best part about it. They're not trying to compete with anybody. They're just a regular indie show that looks high quality and it looks good. And honestly, like, at least in the States, you know, it's nothing big just yet. But if they had huge investors or huge money behind it, that's the type of stuff that people could get into. But again, you know, you're against a giant, and Vince McMahon is the giant. And once Vince McMahon is gone, you know, they're still going to have that giant. That's the way WWE is structured.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we'll end this discussion on that. I want to leave you guys with this for TNA. Give us some call here, right here, and on Anchor. If you go !Anchor in the chat real quick if you want to do that, Ango, so people can know where they can call in on Anchor. And give us a call. Let us know your thoughts on TNA Impact Wrestling. We'll go over some of those comments below a little bit later as this goes along. But I wanted to talk about this because you mentioned it. What Culture Pro Wrestling. If you guys aren't